Can you hear me?
What's up, my boy? You good?
What's going on, man?
I'm chilling, brother. Chilling.
All right, so we're gonna get ready to start here in a second. All right, so here we go, brother. All right, so guys, welcome to my brother's keeper channel. We have a very special guest today. We have Justin Jackson here. For you guys who don't know who Justin is, what you should know, he was a standout player at North Carolina. There, he went on to win the ACC Player of the Year in 2017. He was first team All-American. He went on to win a national championship with the Tar Heels. And then he went to the NBA, 15th overall pick, and he was a national champion. Justin, welcome to the show.
Appreciate you, man, for having me.
All right, so we're just going to talk about your college life and, NBA life, and just want to get to know what's been going on there. So the first question that we got for you is, during the recruiting process out of high school, what made North Carolina and Roy Williams stand out? Like, why choose to play for the Tar Heels?
Yeah, I mean, I was through the whole process. My biggest thing was like the relationships that I made, and so North Carolina, like that coaching staff was kind of the dopest group, and the group that I got closest with, kind of through that process. And then I was always a North Carolina fan in general, so that obviously added on to it. So with those combined, that's kind of why I made that decision.
I feel that. And it was a very great decision. I mean, you guys end up winning the national championship, so I know it ended up being the great route right there. And so the next question I got for you is, leading up to that loss in the national championship game, what were some of the steps that you took individually and your team took to kind of get back to that, championship game and finish the mission?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it was we had a lot of guys back. We obviously lost two guys in Marcus and Bryce, who were like, kind of our two pillars of the team at that time. But you
gotta throw yourself in that too. You gotta throw yourself in that category too.
Yeah, man. But I mean, it was for us. It was we had a lot of guys back. We had a lot of guys kind of like test the waters and see, get feedback from different teams. I think that was the biggest thing for me, was whenever I did that, kind of getting the feedback from those teams. I went back and I worked on those things, which obviously, the better the individual player is, the better that they are for the team anyway. So, I think everybody really just put in a ton of time in that summer and that off season. And we were able to come out and, we had a mindset of trying to get back the whole season. So it was really just a collective unit.
I love that answer. And so you ended up winning the national championship, getting selected 15th overall. So funny story. So like, how was it being a rookie? Like, you got a funny rookie story that, some duties that you had to do, or how was being a rookie in the NBA?
No, man, I for one, it's always a dream come true. I always wanted to be an NBA player, and for that to happen was unbelievable. But I think as far as like rookie duties and stuff like that, I didn't really have any like, crazy rookie duties. I think for me, what was so dope was like the vets that I had my first year. I had, which George is still playing, George Hill is still playing, Garrett Temple is still playing, but I had Zach Randolph, better known as Zebo.
Zebo was with you.
I had Zebo, and then I had Vince Carter as two of my big vets.
That
and so
crazy.
Obviously they're legends in their own right. But you throw Vince going to North Carolina and kind of having that connection and stuff like that. That kind of was dope to be able to be around all those guys every day.
So they never like hazed you, put popcorn in your car, nothing like that?
No, man, we didn't. That's one thing. They weren't really, I don't know if it was because they were kind of older vets, and that kind of stuff, but they didn't really do anything too much to the rookies. Maybe we would have to carry some bags every once in a while, but it wasn't that bad.
So another question for you. So, of course, there's a different preparation when you're competing for a college national championship. And then also you got the experience for an NBA championship, and you end up winning one with the Bucks. So is there really like a big difference between the two, like how you prepare for a college championship compared to NBA championship? Like, what's the main difference you think that involves that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just different. it's different from a few different points. For me individually, like I didn't really play when I was with the Bucks when we won it.
Okay.
So the preparation was just kind of different. Like during that time, I mean, I was kind of like, whenever we would have like kind of a practice, I'd be like the scout team, basically, like what college is. So I would just have to try to, prepare with that and try to prepare our team, to go against whoever. But then other than that, man, like just had to try to bring the energy on the bench and try to, keep that up. But it's just also different too because of the whole series aspect of compared to like a one game and you're out in college. But I mean, as far as like the preparation and stuff like that goes, you still watch film on the teams, because it's a series in the NBA, you're able to kind of dissect film a little bit more and kind of watch from game to game the different changes. But as far as, just the preparation and stuff that goes into it, it's pretty much the same. Like you got to be ready for whatever they throw at you.
It kind of is in the same sense as like that. You kind of already played the team 3-4 times in the regular season, so you kind of already know what to expect from that team.
Exactly. And in college, you might be playing a team that your school has never played,
like a Cinderella team or something.
Exactly. So it's just it's a little bit of a difference, but I mean, at the end of the day, too, it's it's all basketball. So it's like who's going to be the team to go out there and compete the most, and do the things they need to do to win the game. So, but they were both super dope experiences.
So a couple more questions. So I know, you're the man in college, so I got to ask you a question. So who was the first player, whether that's college or NBA, to like walk into the league? Like, it's a different ball game, young fella. Like, who was the first player to walk into like your first, like, this is the NBA?
Man, I had a couple different ones, man. I think my first legit welcome, I think it was probably guarding Kevin Durant. Yeah, he was like
the greatest in my opinion. That's the greatest in my opinion.
Yeah, he just like I'll never forget. I don't know if it was my first time playing him or something like that, but I was guarding him because at the time he was at the 3 and I was at the 3, so it just happened to be. And I actually was playing really good defense, and he got a step on me and dribbled to the free throw line, like did like a one dribble pull up at the free throw line. And I jumped early to try to contest because I knew he was about to pull up. Like he, most of the time going left, like that's whenever he pulls up to shoot anyways. So he went into his jumper. So I jumped early to contest, and he literally shot it over me like I wasn't even there. And it didn't hit anything but the net. And so it was like.
And people don't really understand that Kevin Durant is really like a 7-foot guard.
A legit footer. He's a legit footer. So it's like at that time, like I had already had a few different things before. But like, it's just playing against that level of guys, almost every single night. It kind of hits you, a couple times. So
now to feed off that, so being in the NBA, so who do you think right now is the best player in the league? I can give you my preference, and I want to see what you would say. So right now, I'm a huge Kevin Durant fan. I think that he is the most skilled NBA player in the league, and I think he's the best player. But right now, if I had to say whose league it is, I'm gonna have to go with Giannis. I'm gonna have to go with Giannis.
I mean, it's a tough these conversations and arguments are always tough for me because it's just so much different styles of plays.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? Like I could sit here and I could say KD is the best scorer to ever play. You know what I'm saying? Just because he's 7 feet, he can do things off the dribble, off the catch. Like he can score in so many different ways. Like, and there's not many people, if any, that can even slow him down. But then it's like when you talk about the league, it's like, okay, well, like I saw Giannis up close and personal, and he is, if not the best, he's top 3 in the league.
Sure. There's no question about that.
But then you also have to throw in the fact Jokic just won 2 MVPs the past 2 years. You know what I'm saying?
if we being honest, you also play with Luca, and Luca, oh my goodness, Luca
Luka's
might be he
Luka's
might be in that
cold.
top tier category as well.
You know what I'm saying? Luka's cold. Joel Embiid was going crazy last year. I mean, at the end of the day, I know he's getting older. LeBron just averaged 30 last year, and he's arguably the best to ever play the game.
Facts,
So
facts.
it's almost, those arguments are always tough. But if you were to have to go like right now at this current moment, it's hard for me to go against Giannis
I feel that.
in a capacity. But you also have to think Kawhi was out all year last year, and before he got hurt, he was top 3, top 5 in the league. So it's like it's so much talent in the NBA that it's hard to have.
I feel that.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
probably one of the best answers I've had. Me and my friends, they're gonna say LeBron, they're gonna say Kevin Durant, but hearing from a pro player and seeing that perspective, that kind of changes my thinking of it a little bit. So last 2 questions. So being a part of that championship team, like what were some of the like is there a different aspect to like what takes place when you playing in that finals? Like it's a lot of pressure, of course. So like were you nervous at all? Because I thought you guys was about to lose to them Hawks boys. Like I was worried for a minute. I was like, ain't no way Trae Young really about to beat these boys.
I mean, there's definitely there's a totally different level of energy, excitement, intensity. Like it's just totally different, and each round obviously goes up. Like once you get to the finals, I mean, the environment, the atmosphere, everything like that is just like it's unbelievable. But I don't know, to be honest, I don't know if guys were ever really that nervous. If anything, that year, I think the only time that we really were like, okay, hold on, was after the first 2 games against Brooklyn.
Oh.
After the first 2 games, whenever we lost, I want to say we lost by like 41 the first game, and then lost by like 20 or 30 the second.
James Harden ended up getting hurt, right? And
he got hurt. He got hurt the first game. James Harden got hurt the first game, but they still whooped us the rest of that game and then the next game. But then game 3 is whenever Kyrie went down with the ankle injury.
Mm-hmm.
And so after the second game, we came back to Milwaukee and we were kind of like, okay, hold on. Like this is going to be tough. But then when Kyrie went down and we won those next 2 like pretty handedly. Everybody was kind of like, all right, like this is like we can get through this series.
And then the next game, KD drops 50 with a.
Yeah, obviously that it was a lot harder than people make it sound, but I don't know. I don't, because I mean, if you look at that whole series or that whole playoff run, I mean, we got whooped the first 2 games against Phoenix too in the finals, at their place. But even then, I don't think guys really weren't that, most of the times if you get whooped, especially in like a playoff series or a big game or something, guys are like trying to figure out what's the answer, like what do we need to change, yada, yada, yada. But there really was never that kind of time whenever we were going through it, which I think was big because it just allows the players to be more level-headed than, being so up and down.
That's a beautiful answer. And so last question right here. So people don't understand, when you get to the NBA, it's not set in stone. So talk to us a little bit like what all you got to do to stay in the league, because, everything is not always set in stone. Like you can be traded. Like people don't understand how big of a business it really is. So you talk about that for a little bit, just explain like once you get to the league, you always got to be expected, or you got to be expected for the unexpected, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, man, it's easy for fans and people that just watch to, what's the best way to put it? At the end of the day, like life expectancy in the NBA is 3 years.
Really?
Right? It's 3 years. So on average, like players stay in the league for 3 years and then they're gone. And so like when you really think about it, each year it's 60 players that get drafted, right? Like obviously second round is, you got to make the team usually or whatever. And then now like the game is so international. There's so many international guys that are coming over. So on average, there's probably like 80 new players every year. And so I think a lot of times fans and people who just watch, right? It's like when they look at guys who are maybe like on the end of the bench, or, you know, guys that maybe, you know, they bounce around the league a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's kind of like, man, like that guy's not that great. Like, why, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not really playing. He's not, but it's so hard to stay in the NBA. Like it's such a competitive league to be in, which
Mm-hmm.
all professional sports are that same way. I mean, you see like football, they just had to cut like 20 something players off their roster today. But like, it's such a competitive league when it comes to, it's the best of the best.
Yep.
And there's just so many more players coming in every single year, you know? And so it's like, you know, for me, like I bounced around. Like I played for what? Within my first 4 years, I had played for 4 different teams, basically. And then, you know, last year I played in the G League, had some 10 days with Boston and Phoenix, had a few 10 days there. And then now, hopefully, you know, trying to make the team go on a training camp with Boston, you know? So it's like, but I think a lot of times fans and people that are just watching the game,
yeah,
when they see like something like that, they're like, oh, like,
man,
he's not that good. Cause all they envision is like the LeBrons and
exactly.
the KDs and that kind of stuff. And it's like, in their mind, like everybody should be able to just stay on the team and play. You know what I'm saying?
But they also
don't
like, realize like you can go to an open gym right now and get 66.
That's what I mean. That's the thing. At the end of the day, like we're all in the NBA for a reason. Like we're still the best 400 players in the world. You know, so whether you're the, you know, second leading scorer on the team or you're number 14 on the roster, like they're still the best of the best, you know? And at the end of the day, it's like, this is our job. Like, this is how we're providing for our family. So, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, it's tough for, you know, an innocent bystander who just watches the game to understand that. But like, when you're in it, like, you really do realize like, dang, like this will be my 6th year, hopefully, obviously making the team and whatnot, but this will be my 6th year in the NBA. So it's like, just kind of putting all of that into perspective, whether I've moved around a lot or been on a team for a while or whatever, it's like, it's tough, bro. And so it's just, you got to keep on chipping away.
That's an amazing answer. And that's all I got for you today. So Justin, I just really appreciate you taking time out, and best of luck with everything that happens with the Celtics. You know, we're all ready to see you play again, but thanks for having us. And that's all we got. So appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, man.